Now at 6, Juneau glacial flooding. After the warnings and evacuations, we hear from families and the impacts we're still seeing at this hour.
And rain returns to South Central and is on the way to the interior. I'll let you know how much to expect.
It's going to be a very important meeting, but it's setting the table for the second meeting.
And President Trump hints Friday's summit in Alaska on J-Bear could be just the beginning of Russia-Ukraine peace talks. But Governor Dunleavy just told us.
You're watching Alaska's news source.
All right, and now at 6, we continue to track and monitor the glacial release from Suicide Basin above Mendenhall Lake. This is video from Juneau today showing rising waters near the Brotherhood Bridge, which crosses the Mendenhall River. Today, the river reached record levels. First day of school for Juneau schools been pushed back to Friday because of the high water, and we have complete team coverage on this historic flooding.
And Bailey Braun and Lauren Maxwell are standing by with a look at ways to stay safe and a family's account of dealing with the flooding. We start with Chief Meteorologist Melissa Fry.
Yeah, such good news to report tonight that the water levels have just dropped below that flood stage after sitting there for about 48 hours. That historic crest happening 7:15 this morning. The forecast was spot on, cresting at 16.65 feet, again, well above the previous record from last year of 15.99 feet. Again, we have never seen this much water in Mendenhall Lake or River, and that is why we've been seeing the flooding ongoing today. The good news, though, you can see just how fast the water level dropped today. The basin has released. There's nothing left in the basin, and so water levels will now slowly return to normal. It's just going to take some time to clean up from that. So again, the basin is done. There's no water remaining in the area, and we will continue to see improving conditions. Now, we did get some beautiful sunshine, dry conditions there, really just in time after days of heavy rain. It was gorgeous today in Juneau. So that was perhaps some saving grace there, allowing residents to do those cleanup efforts with those dry, sunny conditions. And they're going to hold on to that dry weather even as we head here into the next 24 hours. For the north, rain is quickly moving into Anchorage, and I'm going to have a closer look at that forecast here in just a few minutes.
And our complete coverage continues with Bailey Braun.
Yeah, despite conditions seemingly improving, officials still reminding people of potential dangers. Bailey, what can you tell us about that?
Thank you, John. Yeah, the City and Bureau of Juneau said that the water is receding and people can now return to their homes, but are still asking non-residents to stay away. Roads were closed across the valley as water moved in, and even as the river drops, high water and debris is still in the area. CBJ is reminding people that this water specifically can be dangerous.
Please do not drive through or walk through floodwaters. You don't know what's underneath of the floodwater. There could be hazards there. There could be hazardous materials in it. Floodwater can also move very swiftly. It can move just a little bit of water, can move a vehicle off the road. It can sweep a person off their feet. And our number one priority is always going to be the life and safety of the public and our first responders.
As O'Shaughnessy says, turn around, don't drown. They are assessing the damage and found a power pole that is in the water on the southeast side of the Back Loop Bridge, and portions of the road are eroding from the flooding. Information about recovery resources will be available on the CBJ website, and their non-emergency hotline is still open.
And people in Juneau can return to their homes, but a few of them never left. Complete coverage continues with Lauren Maxwell, who spoke with a man who stayed to fight the floodwaters.
Well, that's right. Scott Griffith's wife and his daughter evacuated, but Griffith stayed behind in their Mendenhall home on Tuesday night. And in part, that was because he has been through this many times before. It is the third time that his property has flooded. He wanted to see what he could do to save it. Now, the good news is the water did reach his yard, but it never got into his house. That's because of an 8-foot barrier the city had erected earlier this summer. Griffith told us that it was still stressful fighting the water that did get through.
We had water coming underneath the barrier, so we were trying to run a huge trash pump to stay ahead of it. And, and then looking out for your neighbors and making sure the cars are safe. And, we moved all our pets out this year. That's been a stressful part in the past, too. So, we've learned something every year, but it's still no fun.
I doubt that it would be. Griffith says that he'd like to see a more permanent solution to the flooding problem in Juneau, and the city says it is working on it.
And continuing coverage of Friday's summit in Alaska, President Trump taking a different tone today than the White House yesterday about his expectations for the meeting on J-Bear.
Yeah, political reporter Will Courtney tells us the president promising consequences if there's not a ceasefire agreement. Will.
There will be consequences.
Sanctions, tariffs?
There will be, I don't have to say, there will be very severe consequences, yes.
Be with you.
During a morning news conference after the president virtually talked to President Zelensky and other European leaders, here's what President Trump had to say when a reporter asked if Russia would face consequences if there's no ceasefire deal reached during the summit we now know will be on Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson. As we said, some of those comments came after the Associated Press's reports Trump was on a conference call with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and other European leaders as well. In that call, President Trump said territory divisions will not be discussed, even after he said just days ago it would be a topic of discussion. Zelensky said it was unconstitutional to give up territory and would only benefit what he characterized as a future Russian invasion. President Trump saying today he expects the J-Bear meeting to lead to another meeting, which would include both Putin and Zelensky.
No, it was always going to be, I was going to meet with President Putin, and then after that, I'm going to call the leaders and President Zelensky. I'm going to call President Zelensky, and then I'll call, probably in that order, the leaders. There's a very good chance that we're going to have a second meeting, which will be more productive than the first, because the first is I'm going to find out where we are and what we're doing.
Those comments came after the call with Zelensky and the European leaders as well, who urged President Trump not to make a ceasefire deal on his own with Putin without Zelensky. Will Courtney, Alaska's news source.
And Governor Dunleavy says he's hopeful for the summit in Alaska.
Augusta McDowell continues our complete coverage after just speaking with the governor. Augusta.
John, Rebecca, the governor has been busy over the summer, so we covered a range of topics. He sat down with me for about 20 minutes. Top of mind, of course, this week is that Friday summit at J-Bear with Presidents Trump and Putin. Dunleavy says he hopes their discussion results in peace for Ukraine.
I think it's great to have this this conference here, to be honest with you. We're about 7 hours from Moscow. I think Washington, D.C., if you're going the other way, is about 10 hours from Moscow, so we're actually closer. And they are our neighbor, so it does make sense, but I'm hoping some good things comes out of this discussion.
Again, we talked about multiple topics. We're going to post that extended interview online. Some of those critical topics, of course, developing over the summer, like education funding, the possible implementation of a Department of Agriculture, and flooding because of the Mendenhall Glacier overflow. For Alaska's news source, I'm Augusta McDonald.
Anchorage Mayor Suzanne LaFrance says that while no official plans have been made by her administration for Friday's meeting, but coordination between the White House and her office is ongoing as new information continues to trickle in.
It's an opportunity to highlight our city.
LaFrance speaking to the significance of Anchorage being featured on a global stage, although she says it's far from the first time the city has played host for significant events. National sources confirming the meeting's location at Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson. The mayor says she and her teams remain on standby to see what the city's response will look like.
And so we continue to coordinate with the governor's office and the military and the White House to make sure that we're prepared. And the level of professionalism we have and the level of readiness makes me feel very confident that we will, in fact, be prepared to host this really important meeting.
The mayor says, like so many others, she's hopeful the meeting will be a step forward for peace, and announcements regarding impacts to the city will be made public in the coming days.
And still ahead, we're recognizing the importance of summer camps as students head back to class.
We take you inside the gates and show you a special camp that could have some students flying high in the future.
So as school starts up for some Alaskan students, summer camps have also provided lessons and opportunities for students over the summer. In tonight's Inside the Gates, AP Adrian Peterson explains that includes one camp that brought kids to Fort Wainwright to learn about aviation opportunities.
Alaska relies on aviators to move goods and people, fight fires, and defend the nation. Kids attending an aviation camp got to learn about the opportunities and operations involved with those fields while visiting Fort Wainwright.
We toured the airport police and fire. We were fortunate enough to tour the air traffic control tower and also the flight service station.
The aviation camp, put on as a collaboration between the National Park Service and the University of Alaska, used hands-on learning to teach middle school students about aviation forecasting, aerial firefighting, and more.
We are strong advocates for place-based learning and allowing students and people to build bonds with the area around them. And this camp just does that through aviation.
Students were able to explore different military and firefighting aircraft while speaking with industry professionals.
I think exposure to a whole bunch of different careers is super important at this age, not necessarily trying to horseshoe students into a certain career field, but just give them options.
Beth Ibsen with the Alaska Fire Service says it's important to expose kids to these career paths because that's how you would find the next generation of aviators.
Showing them what we do and how we do it and how we can do it safely is a big part of getting them interested in maybe becoming a future firefighting aviator for us.
As to whether or not these kids will become pilots will be a matter of time, but they now know what those opportunities look like and how they can begin that journey. Adrian Peterson, Alaska's news source.
Thanks for listening. Click subscribe so you can get the latest podcast from Alaska's news source automatically. And stay up to date with breaking news and in-depth reporting available for free 24/7 with the Alaska's news source app.